Captain Jiho Park stared at the massive alien ship blocking his path. The new Sol, humanity's first faster-than-light vessel, looked like a toy next to the giant crystal structure floating in space. Jiho had been exploring beyond Earth's solar system for only 3 days when these aliens appeared. The alien ship sent a message. A voice spoke in perfect human language through the new Sol's communication system.
Human vessel, you will stop and prepare for boarding.
This is High Chancellor Vexithara of the Galactic Sovereignty Council. Jiho looked at his crew. They were all scared but trying to hide it. Send a reply, he told his communication officer. Tell them we come in peace. Your intentions do not matter, came the cold response. Follow our ship to the meeting point. Any attempt to flee will result in your destruction. The alien ship was 10 times bigger than the new Sol. Jiho had no choice but to follow. They traveled for 2 hours to a space station that was even larger. Jiho had never seen anything so huge. It looked like a small moon made of metal and crystal. When Jiho boarded the alien station, he was amazed by what he saw. The walls were made of some kind of living crystal that glowed with soft light. Strange creatures walked the corridors. Some looked like giant insects, others like walking trees, and some were just floating balls of light. High Chancellor Vexithara was waiting in a massive chamber. The alien was 12 feet tall and made entirely of blue crystal. When it spoke, its voice echoed through the room like thunder. Human, I am Vexithara, leader of the Galactic Sovereignty Council. For 3,000 years, we have maintained peace in this galaxy. We have rules that all species must follow. Jiho tried to stay calm. We didn't know about your rules. We're just exploring space for the first time. Exactly, Vexithara said. Your species is primitive. You have discovered faster-than-light travel too early. This always leads to disaster. We have seen it 47 times before. The alien showed Jiho images on a floating screen. He saw planets destroyed by war, entire species wiped out, and stars turned into weapons. These races thought they were ready for the galaxy, Vexithara explained. They were wrong. We had to stop them before they destroyed everything. What do you want from us? Jiho asked. Simple. Your species will be classified as primitive under Council Doctrine 7 Alpha. You will give us all your faster-than-light technology. You will stay in your home solar system forever. In return, we will protect you from the dangers of the galaxy. Jiho felt anger rising in his chest. You want us to be prisoners in our own system? We want you to be safe, Vexithara replied. Children should not play with weapons that can destroy worlds. The Council knows what is best for young species like yours. And if we refuse, Vexithara's crystal body glowed brighter. Then we will use corrective measures. Your species will be reduced to a pre-technology state. You will forget about space travel completely. This is for the good of the galaxy. Jiho was given a small device to take back to Earth. This contains our formal ultimatum, Vexithara said. Your leaders have 72 standard hours to accept our terms. If they refuse, we will begin corrective measures immediately. The trip back to Earth felt like the longest journey of Jiho's life. When he arrived, he went straight to Admiral Yuna Kim, head of the United Earth Defense Force. Admiral Kim was a tough woman who had fought in Earth's last major war. She listened to Jiho's report without saying a word. Show me the message, she said finally. The alien device projected a 3-dimensional image of Vexithara. The message was simple and terrifying. Humanity had 3 days to surrender their freedom or face destruction. The alien explained that corrective measures had been used 47 times before. Each time, the target species was reduced to a primitive state within 1 year. Admiral Kim called an emergency meeting with world leaders. President Sola Choi arrived first, followed by the heads of the other major nations. They all watched the alien message in silence. Dr. Minho Lee, Earth's top expert on alien life, studied the Council's communication records that Jiho had recorded. What he found made him sick. The Council wasn't lying about their past actions. They had really destroyed 47 different species that refused to submit. How do they do it? President Choi asked. They target infrastructure first, Dr. Lee explained. Power plants, communication networks, space facilities. They don't kill many people directly, but they destroy a civilization's ability to function. Within months, the target species falls back to a pre-industrial level. How many ships do they have? Admiral Kim asked. From what I could see, at least 200, Jiho replied. All of them bigger and more advanced than anything we have. The world leaders debated for hours. Some wanted to accept the Council's terms. At least we'll survive, argued the European Union representative. We can rebuild our technology in secret. Others disagreed. If we give up now, we'll never be free, said the African Federation leader. Our children will grow up as prisoners. President Choi listened to all arguments before making her decision. The council thinks we're children who can't handle freedom. They want us to trade our future for safety, but humanity has never chosen the easy path. As the deadline approached, more alien ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. They formed a perfect circle around the sun, waiting. Each ship was massive, armed with weapons that could destroy entire cities. On the final day, President Choi called Jiho to her office. "Captain, I want you to deliver our response personally." Jiho flew the new soul to the alien fleet. This time there were hundreds of ships waiting for him. He was brought aboard the largest vessel, a massive dreadnought called the Eternal Dominion. High Chancellor Vexithara was waiting in the same crystal chamber as before. "Human, what is your species' decision?"
Jiho stood as tall as he could.
His voice was steady as he delivered humanity's answer. "President Sola Choi and the people of Earth have considered your generous offer. We respectfully decline." The crystal alien's body flashed with bright light. "You refuse our protection?" "We refuse to be prisoners," Jiho replied. "Humanity chooses freedom even if it means facing the unknown." Vexithara was silent for a long moment. When the alien spoke again, its voice was colder than space itself. "Then you have chosen destruction. Corrective measures will begin immediately. Your species will learn the price of defiance." As Jiho was escorted back to his ship, he saw the alien fleet moving into attack formation. Earth's orbital defenses were already powering up their weapons, but everyone knew it wouldn't be enough. The Council had 3,000 years of advanced technology. The war was about to begin, and humanity was completely outgunned. The attack began exactly 72 hours after the ultimatum expired. Admiral Yuna Kim watched from the command center deep underground as 200 alien ships surrounded Earth's solar system. The Council fleet moved with perfect coordination, like a machine designed for one purpose: complete domination. High Chancellor Vexithara commanded the assault from the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion. The alien's crystal body glowed brighter as it gave orders to the fleet. "Begin corrective measures. Target military installations first. Avoid civilian casualties when possible. We are teachers, not murderers." The first strike hit Luna Base, humanity's largest spaceship yard. The orbital facility had taken 20 years to build and employed 50,000 people. It was destroyed in 30 seconds. Beams of pure energy sliced through the metal structures like they were made of paper. The base didn't explode, it simply melted into glowing metal that drifted away into space. "Luna Base is gone," reported Lieutenant Inho from the command center. His voice was shaking. "All 50 defense platforms around the moon are destroyed. The aliens are moving toward Earth." Admiral Kim clenched her fists. Earth's orbital defenses opened fire with everything they had. Nuclear missiles, particle beam weapons, and kinetic projectiles shot toward the alien fleet. The humans watched their most powerful weapons strike the Council ships and do absolutely nothing. The alien energy shields absorbed every attack like raindrops hitting a window. "This is impossible," whispered Dr. Minho Lee, who was monitoring the battle from the science station. "Their shield technology is thousands of years ahead of ours." The Council's response was swift and devastating. Plasma cannons on the alien ships fired down at Earth's orbital weapons. Each shot was perfectly aimed. Every human defense platform was destroyed with a single blast. Within 1 hour, Earth had no space-based defenses left. On Mars, Commander Hyuk Nam watched the attack through long-range sensors. Mars Colony was humanity's second-largest settlement, home to 2 million people. The red planet had its own defense grid and a small fleet of patrol ships. "Earth's orbital ring is completely destroyed," Nam reported to his staff. "The aliens are landing troops on the major space installations." The Council didn't just destroy human facilities, they captured them. Alien soldiers in powered armor landed on every space station and moon base. The creatures were efficient and professional. They disabled human defenders with stun weapons instead of killing them. Within hours, every human installation in space was under Council control. The attack on Earth itself was surgical and precise. The aliens targeted power plants, communication centers, and government buildings. They used weapons that destroyed electronics without harming people. Entire cities went dark as power grids failed. Internet connections died. Television and radio stations went silent. President Sola Choi was in the emergency command bunker when the lights went out. "Emergency power isn't working," reported her chief of staff. "They've done something to all our electronics." Above ground, people watched alien ships hovering over every major city. The vessels were beautiful and terrifying, like floating cathedrals made of crystal and metal. They didn't attack the civilian population, but their message was clear. Resistance was useless. Dr. Yunbi Shin was working in the Luna Research Station when the attack began. The research facility was built deep underground, originally designed to study alien artifacts found on Titan. When the main base was destroyed, she and her team were trapped below the surface. "The surface installations are gone," she told engineer Dae Ho Yoon as they watched through periscope cameras, "but they might not know we're down here." The Luna Research Station had been Dr. Shin's home for 5 years. She was studying fragments of ancient alien technology that predated any known civilization. The artifacts were mysterious and beautiful, covered in symbols that no human could read. Back on Earth, the Council's demonstration continued. They didn't need to kill millions of people to prove their point. Instead, they showed humanity how completely helpless they were. Transportation systems stopped working. Manufacturing plants shut down. Even simple machines like cars and radios went dead. "It's some kind of electromagnetic pulse weapon," Dr. Lee explained to Admiral Kim. "But it's incredibly selective. It only affects human technology. Their ships are still working perfectly. The alien troops that landed on Earth were not violent. They were polite and professional as they took control of military bases and government facilities. Many were humanoid, though they came from different species. Some looked like tall, thin humans with blue skin. Others were covered in scales or fur. A few weren't even solid. They appeared to be made of living energy. Commander Hyuk Nam tried to organize resistance from Mars, but it was hopeless. The Council fleet was too large and too advanced. When his patrol ships attacked, they were disabled in seconds by alien stun weapons. The crews weren't killed, just put to sleep. "This is Commander Nam to any surviving human forces," he broadcast on the emergency frequency. "Earth's orbital defenses have fallen. The Council fleet is establishing permanent blockade positions around every human world. We are no longer a spacefaring species." The message was received by Captain Kyung Bae, who commanded a small mining ship in the asteroid belt. His vessel was too small for the aliens to notice, hidden among the rocks and debris between Mars and Jupiter. He watched helplessly as the Council fleet took control of human space. "They're not trying to wipe us out," Bae reported to his crew. "They're trying to break us, make us feel hopeless." The strategy was working. Within 18 hours of the attack, human civilization appeared to be crumbling. Without power, communication, or transportation, governments couldn't function. People began to panic as food distribution systems failed and hospitals lost power. High Chancellor Vexathara addressed the human leadership through a quantum communication device that the aliens provided. The crystal being appeared as a massive hologram in the command bunker, where President Choi and her staff were hiding. "Your defiance has been noted and corrected," the alien announced. "The Council's judgment is final. Your species will remain confined to your birth world until you demonstrate the wisdom to accept our guidance." "How long?" President Choi asked. "How long will we be prisoners?" "Time is not relevant," Vexathara replied. "Some species learn quickly. Others take centuries. A few never learn at all. Those races remain primitive forever." The alien showed images of other worlds the Council had conquered. Some planets had recovered and been allowed limited space travel under Council supervision. Others were still primitive after thousands of years, their people having forgotten they ever reached for the stars. "This is what happens to species that refuse wisdom," Vexathara explained. "Your children will grow up thinking space travel is impossible. Your grandchildren will believe it's just a myth. Eventually, your species will be grateful for the peace we have given you." Admiral Kim stepped forward. "What if we agree to your terms now? Will you restore our technology?" "Perhaps. If you truly accept Council authority, we might allow you limited access to space, under our supervision, of course. But trust must be earned over many years." The hologram disappeared, leaving the human leaders alone in the dark bunker. Outside, alien ships continued their patrol of Earth's skies. The blockade was complete. No human vessel could leave the solar system. But in the ruins of the Luna Research Station, Dr. Yunbi Shin was studying the ancient artifacts with new interest. The alien attack had changed something about the mysterious objects. They were glowing brighter now, pulsing with energy she had never seen before. "Daeho, look at this," she called to Engineer Yoon. "The symbols are changing. I think they're responding to what's happening above us." The ancient artifacts weren't just glowing, they were trying to communicate. The symbols on their surface were shifting and rearranging themselves, forming new patterns that almost looked like language. Dr. Shin had spent years trying to understand these objects. Now, as Earth burned above her and humanity faced its darkest hour, the secrets of an ancient civilization were finally beginning to reveal themselves. The Council thought they had won. They believed humanity was broken and defeated. But they had made one crucial mistake. They assumed that humans were like every other species they had conquered. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Dr. Yunbi Shin crawled through the debris-filled corridors of Luna Research Station Alpha. The main levels had been destroyed in the Council attack, but the deep underground sections were still intact. She had been working here for 15 years, studying artifacts that were older than human civilization. The ancient objects were different now. Before the attack, they had been cold and silent. Now they pulsed with warm light, and the strange symbols on their surfaces were changing every few minutes. It was as if the alien invasion had awakened something that had been sleeping for millions of years. "Yunbi, you need to see this," called Engineer Daeho Yoon from the main laboratory. He was standing in front of the largest artifact, a smooth black pillar covered in flowing symbols. "The quantum scanner is going crazy. This thing is putting out more energy than our entire reactor." Dr. Shin joined him at the scanning station. The readings were impossible. The artifact was somehow accessing quantum dimensions that human science barely understood. "It's trying to connect to something," she said, studying the energy patterns, "like it's part of a vast network." Above them, the Council fleet continued its patrol of human space. High Chancellor Vexithera was confident that humanity would surrender completely within a few months. Most species broke quickly once they realized the hopelessness of their situation. But the crystal alien was receiving troubling reports from across the galaxy. Ancient sensors on dozens of worlds were detecting unusual quantum activity. Systems that had been dormant for thousands of years were suddenly showing signs of life. What could be causing this? Vexithera asked its science advisor, a floating jellyfish-like creature named Mordun. "Unknown, Chancellor. The quantum disturbances began shortly after we initiated corrective measures against the humans. It could be a coincidence." Vexithera was not satisfied with that answer. The Council had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years by being cautious and thorough. Coincidences were dangerous things. In the Luna laboratory, Dr. Shin was making discoveries that would change everything. The artifacts weren't just ancient technology. They were archives. As she learned to interpret the shifting symbols, she uncovered the true history of galactic civilization. The Council wasn't the first advanced species to rule the galaxy. They were just the latest in a long line of empires. The real builders of galactic civilization had been a species called the Architects. These beings had transcended physical existence millions of years ago, becoming creatures of pure energy and thought. "Look at this," Dr. Shin told Daeho as she projected the historical data onto the lab's main screen. "The Architects built the first faster-than-light travel. They created the quantum communication networks. They even built the basic infrastructure that the Council still uses today. The records showed that the Architects had been peaceful explorers and teachers. They helped young species develop technology and join the galactic community. There had been no Council Doctrine 7 Alpha, no corrective measures. Species were free to grow and explore at their own pace. What happened to them?" Daeho asked. "They evolved beyond the need for physical bodies," Dr. Shin explained. "But before they left, they built safeguards into the quantum foundations of the galaxy. They wanted to make sure that no future empire could become tyrannical. The safeguards were designed to activate when a species demonstrated the courage to resist oppression. It hadn't happened in over 1,000 years because most species surrendered to the Council without a fight. But humanity was different. Meanwhile, Captain Kyung-bae was leading a desperate guerrilla campaign from the asteroid belt. His small fleet of mining ships and converted cargo haulers had become humanity's last naval force. They were no match for Council warships in direct combat, but they could strike at supply lines and communication relays. "Target the quantum relay station," Bae told his weapons officer as they approached a small Council facility. "Take out their communications and get out before reinforcements arrive." The attack was successful, but it came at a cost. 3 of Bay's ships were destroyed by Council patrol vessels. The humans were running out of ships and people, but they refused to give up. The Council was beginning to notice the resistance. Most conquered species became completely passive within weeks. Humanity had been fighting for 6 months, and their attacks were becoming more sophisticated. "These humans are unusually persistent," Morden reported to Vexithara. "Perhaps we should increase the severity of corrective measures." "No," the Chancellor replied. "Excessive force would make us no better than the ancient tyrants we replaced. Continue the blockade. They will surrender eventually." But Vexithara was wrong about the humans, and the crystal alien was about to discover just how wrong. Dr. Shin had been working non-stop for 3 days, decoding more architect records. What she found was a complete instruction manual for activating the ancient safeguards. The architects had hidden their technology not in grand monuments or obvious artifacts, but in the quantum structure of reality itself. Every planet that harbored life contained dormant architect systems. They were woven into the very fabric of space-time, invisible and undetectable until the right activation sequence was used. The artifacts on Luna were actually quantum resonators, designed to awaken the hidden network. "It's incredible," Dr. Shin told Daeho as she prepared the activation sequence. "The architects didn't just leave behind technology, they left behind hope. They knew that someday a species would need the courage to fight for freedom." The activation began with a single quantum pulse from the Luna laboratory. The resonance spread outward at faster than light speed, touching every architect node in the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, ancient systems that had slumbered for eons suddenly blazed to life. On Vega Prime, the Council's capital world, Vexithara felt the tremors through the planet's crust. Emergency alerts flooded Council communication networks as seismic anomalies erupted on worlds across the galaxy. "What is happening?" the Chancellor demanded. "Unknown quantum disturbances on over 3,000 worlds," Morden reported. "The pattern is consistent with ancient architect technology, but that's impossible. The architects disappeared millions of years ago. Admiral Yuna Kim was hiding in the Asteroid Belt Command Center when she received an impossible transmission. It didn't come through normal communication channels. It spoke directly into the quantum fields that connected all matter. "Children of Terra," the voice said, and somehow Kim knew it was speaking to every human in the galaxy simultaneously. "You have demonstrated the courage that we once possessed. The Council speaks of order, but they have brought only stagnation. They claim to preserve peace, but they have created a prison." The voice belonged to the architects speaking through their ancient network. They had been watching the galaxy for millions of years, waiting for a species brave enough to challenge the Council's tyranny. "You have chosen to shatter their chains," the voice continued. "We will help you break them completely." The effects were immediate and devastating to Council forces. On every Council world, ancient defensive systems suddenly activated. Planetary shields that had been dormant for eons began protecting civilian populations. Council warships found their weapons failing as architect safeguards overrode their targeting systems. On Earth, engineer Daeho Yoon watched in amazement as human technology began evolving at an impossible rate. The quantum resonance was rewriting the fundamental properties of human-built systems. Ships that had been destroyed were rebuilding themselves with architect technology integrated into their hulls. Commander Hyuk Nam, leading a desperate assault on a Council listening post near Mars, found his ship's weapons cutting through alien armor like it was made of paper. "This is impossible," he radioed to his crew. "Our plasma cannons are 10 times more powerful than they were an hour ago." The playing field wasn't just leveling, it was inverting completely. But the true shock came when Captain Kyungbai received a transmission from the farthest reaches of the galaxy. It was from the Zelon Republic, a species that had been conquered by the Council 800 years ago. Their message was simple: "We remember. We are ready to fight." Similar messages came from dozens of other worlds. The quantum resonance had reached species that had been dormant for centuries, reminding them of what they had lost. The Council's empire was built on suppressed civilizations, and now they were all waking up. High Chancellor Vexthara stood in the command center of the Eternal Dominion, watching as the galaxy erupted in rebellion. Ancient technology was activating everywhere, turning conquered species into equals overnight. "How many species are involved?" the Chancellor asked. 43 confirmed, Morden replied. "More are joining every hour. They all have access to architect technology now. For 3,000 years, the Council had maintained control through superior technology and careful suppression of any species that might challenge them. Now that advantage was gone. The galaxy had remembered what freedom looked like. Humanity had done more than resist the Council. They had broken the chains that bound an entire galaxy. The awakening spread across the galaxy like a wave of light, breaking through eternal darkness. Dr. Yunbi Shin watched from the Luna laboratory as quantum resonance patterns flooded her instruments. The ancient architect network was fully active now, connecting thousands of worlds that had forgotten their true potential. On Earth, the transformation was visible to everyone. The orbital shipyards that had been destroyed by the Council were rebuilding themselves. But they weren't just repairing, they were evolving. New materials appeared from quantum storage dimensions. Weapons and shields upgraded themselves with technology that was millions of years advanced. Engineer Daeho Yoon stood in the ruins of the Mars underground facility, watching in amazement as machinery repaired itself. The quantum field is rewriting matter at the molecular level, he reported to Dr. Shin. Our basic fusion reactors are becoming something completely different. The architect technology didn't replace human engineering, it enhanced it. Human creativity and alien science merged into something new and powerful. Ships that had been barely spaceworthy became vessels capable of crossing the galaxy in hours. High Chancellor Vexithara felt the Council's 3,000-year reign crumbling beneath its crystal feet. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Dalton Confederation had declared independence and was defending itself with weapons that made Council technology look primitive. The hegemony of Krell had activated planetary defense systems that were impenetrable. How is this possible? Vexithara demanded from its science advisor. The architects transcended physical existence eons ago. They cannot interfere directly. They are not interfering, Morden replied, studying the quantum readings. They built their safeguards into the fabric of reality itself. When a species demonstrates sufficient courage to resist oppression, the network activates automatically. The Crystal Chancellor's body flashed with angry light. Courage? These primitives chose destruction over wisdom. Perhaps, Morden said carefully. Our definition of wisdom has been incomplete. On the bridge of the newly transformed Earth battleship Soul Ascendant, Admiral Yuna Kim marveled at the changes. The ship had been a simple patrol vessel 12 hours ago. Now it was larger than any Council dreadnought, armed with weapons that could tear holes in space-time itself. All human vessels. This is Admiral Kim. She broadcast on the quantum communication network that suddenly connected every human ship. The architects have given us the tools we need. Now we use them to free the galaxy. The first major battle took place near Jupiter, where a Council patrol fleet tried to stop the human advance. Captain Jiho Park, now commanding the upgraded New Soul, led the attack. His ship moved through space like liquid light, arriving at the battle scene before the Council vessels could react. Target their command ship, Park ordered. Disable, don't destroy. We're liberators, not conquerors. The New Soul's weapons fired beams of pure quantum energy that passed through the Council ship's shields like they weren't there. The alien vessel system shut down instantly, leaving the crew unharmed but helpless. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Species that had been suppressed for centuries were rising up with newfound power. The Calixian Empire, conquered by the Council 400 years ago, suddenly had access to defensive technology that made their homeworld untouchable. Commander Hayuk Nam received a transmission from the Rhython Republic while his fleet was liberating a Council prison station. Human Commander, this is Admiral Zelik of the Rhython Navy. We offer our assistance in overthrowing the tyrannical Council. We accept your offer, Nam replied. What are your capabilities? Our shipyards are producing vessels with architect technology. We can have 1,000 ships ready within one planetary rotation. The resistance was becoming an army. Captain Kyung Bae, still operating from the asteroid belt, found himself coordinating with rebel fleets from dozens of species. His small mining ships were now equipped with architect stealth technology that made them invisible to Council sensors. This is incredible, Bae reported to Admiral Kim. The Grethian Collective has weapons that can disable entire Council fleets without firing a shot. The Solari Union has shields that can protect entire star systems. But the most amazing transformation was happening to the humans themselves. Dr. Minho, Lee discovered that the quantum resonance was affecting human biology in subtle ways. People were thinking faster, making connections they had never made before. Earth scientists were suddenly understanding principles of physics that had taken the Council millennia to master. "It's not that we're becoming more intelligent," Dr. Lee explained to President Sola Choi. "It's that we're remembering capabilities we always had but never accessed. The Architect Network is awakening dormant potential in our brains." President Choi felt the change herself. Complex political and military strategies that would have taken weeks to plan were now clear to her in minutes.
How many other species have this potential?
"All of them," Dr. Lee replied. "That's why the Council had to suppress everyone. Free species with access to their full potential would never accept tyranny." The Council was beginning to panic. High Chancellor Vexathara called an emergency session of the ruling council, bringing together representatives from all 12 member species. The meeting took place on the fortress world of Nexus Prime, the most heavily defended planet in Council space. "The situation is worse than we initially calculated," Vexathara announced to the assembled aliens. 47 species have declared independence. They all have access to Architect technology. Our fleets are being defeated in every engagement. Council Admiral Threx, a massive insectoid creature, chittered its response. "We still have superior numbers. If we concentrate our forces—" "Numbers are irrelevant," interrupted Science Counselor Zephan, a being of living gas. "The rebels have weapons that can disable our ships from light years away. Our shields cannot stop Architect quantum weapons." The Council had built its empire on technological superiority and careful suppression of any species that showed too much independence. Now they faced an alliance of dozens of civilizations, all equipped with technology that was millions of years more advanced than anything the Council possessed. "There is still one option," Vexathara said reluctantly. "We could negotiate." The word hung in the crystal chamber like a toxic cloud. The Council had never negotiated with rebels before. They had always either conquered or destroyed any species that challenged them. Negotiate with primitives? Admiral Threx's mandibles clicked in disgust. The Council does not bargain with children, but the reality was undeniable. The rebellion was growing stronger every hour. Former Council colonies were not just declaring independence, they were actively helping other species break free. The empire was collapsing from within. Dr. Yunbi Shin received a direct communication from the Architect Network while she was studying quantum patterns in the Luna laboratory. The voice spoke directly into her mind, clear and warm like sunlight. "Dr. Shin," the voice said, "you have been chosen to receive a special gift. Your species showed courage when all others surrendered. As a reward, we offer you knowledge that no living being has possessed for millions of years." Suddenly, Dr. Shin's mind was filled with impossible understanding. She could see the quantum structure of the galaxy laid out like a vast map. She understood how faster-than-light travel really worked, how to manipulate matter at the atomic level, and how to create energy from the void itself. "Why are you giving this to us?" she asked. "Because you earned it," the Architect voice replied. "You chose freedom over safety, courage over comfort. These are the qualities that built galactic civilization in the first place. The Council forgot that lesson. We hope humanity will remember it." The knowledge flowed to other human scientists around the galaxy. Dr. Minho Lee suddenly understood alien biology better than the aliens themselves. Engineer Daeho Yoon could build machines that seemed to violate the laws of physics. But the most important gift was strategic knowledge. The humans now knew exactly where every Council stronghold was located, how their defenses worked, and what their weaknesses were. Admiral Yuna Kim studied the tactical information with growing excitement. "They've been using the same defensive strategies for thousands of years," she told her staff. "They never had to adapt because no one could challenge them." The Liberation Fleet began moving toward the Council's capital system. 43 different species contributed ships to the Armada. Human vessels with their upgraded Architect technology served as the spearhead, while alien allies provided support and specialized weapons. Captain Jiho Park found himself commanding a fleet that included crystalline ships from the Calixian Empire, living vessels from the Botanical Collective, and energy-based fighters from the Luminar Republic. The diversity was amazing, but they all shared one goal: freedom. "All ships, this is Admiral Kim," came the broadcast as they approached the Council's capital. "Remember, we're not here for revenge. We're here to liberate the galaxy from tyranny, minimize casualties. The Council's ordinary citizens are victims too. High Chancellor Vexthera. Watch the approaching fleet from the command center of Nexus Prime. 2,000 rebel ships of dozens of different designs were converging on the Council's most protected system. The Liberation Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vega system, home to the Council's capital world. Admiral Yuna Kim stood on the bridge of the Sol Ascendant, watching as 2,000 rebel ships took formation around her flagship. The Armada represented 43 different species, all united by their desire for freedom. High Chancellor Vexithara observed the approaching fleet from the crystal towers of Nexus Prime. The Council's capital world was defended by the most powerful weapons in known space, but the crystal alien felt no confidence. The rebels had architect technology now. Ancient safeguards that had slumbered for millions of years were fully active. Final offer, Admiral Kim broadcast to the Council leadership. Surrender peacefully and we will treat you with honor. Continue your resistance and we will remove you from power by force. The response came from Vexthara itself. Admiral Kim, your species was classified as primitive only months ago. What gives you the right to judge a government that has maintained galactic peace for 3,000 years? The right of every being to live free, Kim replied simply. The Council had its chance to rule with wisdom. Instead, you chose to rule with fear. Captain Jiho Park commanded the first wave of the attack. His ship, the New Soul, led a squadron of human vessels enhanced with architect technology. They moved through space like shadows, arriving at their targets before the Council defenses could react. The battle for Nexus Prime was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Council defense platforms fired weapons that could destroy entire moons, but the rebel ships simply phased out of normal spacetime to avoid the attacks. Architect technology allowed them to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Target the shield generators, Park ordered. Disable them, but don't destroy the installations. We'll need them intact. The Council's planetary shields had protected Nexus Prime for centuries. They were considered impenetrable by any known weapon. But the rebels weren't using known weapons. Quantum disruptors passed through the shields like they weren't there, shutting down the generators without damaging the surrounding city. Commander Hyuk Nam led the assault on the Council fleet defending the capital. 300 Council dreadnoughts faced off against the rebel armada. It should have been an even fight, but the battle was over in minutes. This is impossible, transmitted Council Admiral Threx as his flagship's weapons refused to fire. Our targeting systems are being overridden by an external signal. The architect's safeguards weren't just protecting the rebels, they were actively preventing violence. The ancient systems could distinguish between aggression and defense, between tyranny and liberation. Council weapons simply stopped working when they tried to fire on ships crewed by free beings. Dr. Eunbi Shin monitored the battle from the Luna laboratory, her consciousness connected to the architect network. She could feel the quantum resonance of millions of awakened minds across the galaxy. Species that had been dormant for centuries were remembering their potential. The transformation is accelerating, she reported to engineer Daeho Yoon. Every liberated world is becoming a center of innovation. The galaxy is experiencing a renaissance of science and culture. The Council's resistance collapsed not because they were defeated in battle, but because they realized their cause was hopeless. On world after world, their own citizens were joining the rebellion. Even some Council species were turning against their government. Science Counselor Zephon was the first to openly defect. The gaseous being appeared as a hologram in the rebel command center, its form shimmering with embarrassment. Admiral Kim, Zephon said, I wish to formally apologize for the Council's actions. We convinced ourselves that we were protecting the galaxy from chaos. We were wrong. What changed your mind? Kim asked. The data. For 3,000 years, we suppressed information about the species we conquered. We told ourselves they were primitive and dangerous. But the architect records show the truth. Every species we destroyed or suppressed had developed faster than light travel peacefully. They were explorers and scientists, not conquerors. More Council defections followed. Military commanders, planetary governors, and even some high-ranking officials abandoned their posts to join the rebellion. They brought with them detailed intelligence about Council operations and hidden prison worlds, where dissidents had been held for centuries. Captain Kyung-bae led the mission to liberate those prison worlds. His small fleet of enhanced mining ships could slip past Council defenses undetected. On Detention World 7, he found representatives from over 100 species that had been declared extinct by Council records. "This is Captain Bae to all rebel forces," he transmitted. "The prison worlds contain survivors from species the Council claimed to have eliminated. We're not just fighting for our freedom. We're fighting for the memory of civilizations that were erased from history." The revelation shocked even the Rebel Alliance. The Council hadn't just conquered species, they had systematically eliminated any trace of their existence from galactic records. Entire histories had been deleted to maintain the illusion of Council legitimacy. President Sola, Choi received reports of the discoveries while coordinating relief efforts from Earth. The planet was rapidly rebuilding with architect-enhanced technology. Cities that had been dark for months were glowing with new energy sources that drew power directly from quantum dimensions. "How many?" she asked Dr. Minho Lee. "How many species did they erase?" "At least 300, Dr. Lee replied grimly. "Maybe more." "The Council has been rewriting galactic history for millennia. Every species that successfully resisted was not just defeated, they were deleted from existence." The final assault on the Council's capital began when High Chancellor Vexithera refused a last offer of surrender. The crystal alien stood in the command center of its tower, surrounded by the remaining loyal Council members. "We will not yield to primitives," Vexithera declared. "The Council represents order and stability. Without us, the galaxy will fall into chaos." Admiral Kim led the assault personally. The Sol Ascendant and 50 other vessels descended through Nexus Prime's atmosphere, their architect shields protecting them from the planet's defense systems. They landed in the capital city without firing a shot. The Council's weapons simply refused to target them. The crystal towers that had symbolized Council authority for thousands of years opened their doors as the rebels approached. Inside, they found not fierce resistance, but confused bureaucrats who had genuinely believed they were protecting the galaxy. "You don't understand," Vexithera said as Kim entered the Chancellor's chamber. "Without the Council's guidance, young species will develop weapons that can destroy entire star systems. We have seen it before." "Yes, you have," Kim replied. "But you never gave them a chance to learn from their mistakes. You just destroyed them and claimed it was for the greater good." Dr. Yumbi Shin appeared as a hologram in the chamber, her consciousness still connected to the Architect network. "Chancellor, the Architects left us a message for you." The voice of the ancient civilization filled the room, speaking directly from the quantum structure of space itself. "Vexithera of the Crystal Reaches, your species was once explorers and teachers. You helped build the first interstellar trade networks. You discovered the mathematics of faster-than-light communication. What happened to that wisdom?" The Chancellor's crystal body dimmed. We saw the chaos that followed when we gave primitive species advanced technology. Entire civilizations destroyed themselves. And so you decided to prevent all growth rather than guide it," the Architect voice replied. "You chose control over teaching, fear over hope. You became the very tyranny you once fought against." The transformation of the Council was not violent. Their government dissolved not through conquest but through the weight of truth. When the hidden histories of erased civilizations were revealed, even the most loyal Council supporters could no longer justify their actions. The new galactic government was formed on the principles that the Architects had originally established. No single species would dominate others. Technology would be shared freely. Young civilizations would be mentored, not suppressed. Captain Jiho Park was chosen to deliver the galaxy's new charter to representatives from every known species. The ceremony took place on Nexus Prime, but the planet was renamed Liberation Prime to symbolize the new era. "We gather here not as conquerors, but as equals," Park announced to the vast assembly. "The age of enforced ignorance is over. Every species has the right to reach for the stars." The former Council members were not executed or imprisoned. They were given the same choice they had once offered to others: adapt or remain isolated. Most chose to join the new galactic community, their advanced knowledge now serving to benefit all species, rather than control them. High Chancellor Vexithera personally approached Admiral Kim after the ceremony. The crystal being's body was dim with humility. "Admiral, I wish to apologize for my species' actions. We convinced ourselves that we were preventing disaster. We were wrong. What will you do now?" Kim asked. Learn, Vexthera replied. The architects have offered to teach us what we forgot. Perhaps we can become explorers again instead of oppressors.